B, me, 31F, work at a giant software company. Get paid low six figures to explain to overgrown dudes in polos why they can't make jokes in meetings anymore. Not glamorous, but it pays rent. My apartment is my safe zone. All clean edges, neutral colors, white, charcoal, brushed metal, carefully framed prints of abstract women on the walls. People come over and say, "It looks like a boutique gallery." I tell them, it's what an organized mind looks like when it has a lease. My love life is the exact opposite. Less curated space, more dumpster behind a paint factory, messy, loud, and somehow everyone acts like there's meaning in it. I keep telling myself, it wasn't always this bad. Maybe that's true. Maybe I just need that to be true. Because lately the apps have been brutal. Hinge, Bumble, same swamp, endless parade of guys who think financially conservative, socially moderate is a whole identity. Or poly dudes with tragic facial hair asking if I want to meet their primary hard pass. I'm not signing up for your handcrafted emotional chaos. Every date feels like a screening interview. I'm the hiring manager. They show up with no resume and confidence anyway. Went out with a guy. A few days ago, Ryan looked decent on the app, pics from some climate march bio. Mentioned he volunteered with a reproductive rights group. The bar for men is underground, but he looked like he might at least touch it. We meet at this brewery downtown. He is shorter than his photos. Obviously, we do the usual first date script. Where are you from? What do you do? What neighborhood? He asks about work. I start telling him about a new bias awareness training series I'm building. I'm actually excited about it, talking about structural stuff, hidden assumptions, reworking internal learning materials, so they aren't built on the same old colonial framework. I'm in it really explaining it. I look up expecting at least basic engagement, maybe curiosity, maybe admiration, instead. He's got that blank, polite stare the one people do when they're waiting for you to finish so they can talk about themselves. He nods like he's buffering, says, "Wow, that sounds heavy." Then immediately pivots. "So, do you watch Marvel stuff at all?" I should have left right there. Instead, I stayed and spent the rest of the date calmly explaining how superhero franchises function as propaganda for power, masculinity, and sanctioned violence. He just kept sipping his hazy IPA like a guy watching weather reports, then goes, I just liked Iron Man because of the suits." Incredible. I paid my half, left blocked his number before my Lyft even turned onto my street. Get home, kick off my shoes, pour a glass of wine that absolutely does not belong in my current budget. Text the group chat with my girls, Tasha and Aaron. Update, another one eliminated. Couldn't survive a basic pop culture critique. Aaron fires back in like 10 seconds. Men are made of glass. They say they want a strong woman until she speaks in complete sentences. Tasha jumps in right after, "He's intimidated. You're successful, smart, and not desperate." That's nightmare fuel for mediocre men. We do that for like an hour back and forth, affirming each other, tightening the story, until it feels solid. It's not us, it's them, it's culture, it's patriarchy. They were never built to deal with women like us. And honestly, it feels good. It feels accurate. It turns loneliness into something cleaner. Not, maybe I'm failing, more like, I'm paying a price for having standards in a broken system, way easier to live with. I finished the wine stand there in my spotless, silent apartment. Everything exactly where I left it. Tell myself, I'm doing great. Tell myself I'm winning. But the truth is, it wasn't really about Ryan. It was about Nate. Nate was my big college relationship. We were together almost 5 years back then. I really thought that was a thought I got lucky early. He was smart, but not in an annoying way. Mechanical engineering major who read philosophy books for fun on weekends. He was patient. He actually listened when I started getting deep into feminist theory. He was supportive. He read the essays I sent him, came with me to campus, talks, called himself a feminist, without making it a performance at the time. I thought he really understood. We felt like a unit. Everyone told us we were the stable couple, the ones who would probably get married first. After graduation, we got an apartment together. Tiny one bedroom with bad plumbing, and one window that barely opened. But it was ours. And that's when it started shifting. Or maybe that's just when I finally had enough proximity to see what had been there the whole time. It started with little stuff. He'd come home from his first engineering job, completely drained. I'd want to talk about something I read that day, some article, some microaggression at work, some framework I was trying to sort out. He'd try to pay attention. He really would, but his eyes would go kind of distant, like he was still at his desk one night. He says, "Can we just have one quiet night, Nora?" Today wrecked me. Quiet night must be nice. I told him wanting to switch off was privilege that he could choose when to disengage. I couldn't not if I was paying attention. That was the first time I saw that look on his face. Not normal, tired, something heavier, like being worn down from the inside. He just said, "Yeah, okay." "You're right." Then went into the living room and played video games' classic move retreat into a digital world where men get control back and consequences are optional. After that, more stuff started surfacing. He always liked cooking even in college, but he made big comfort food meals, steak, potatoes, buttery pan sauces, things his mom used to make. I brought up how coded food is, how meat culture is tied up with masculinity and dominance, told him we should go plant-based for politics, for ethics, for health. He agreed to try. To his credit, he did try. For a few weeks he ate the grain bowls and lentil soups and tofu stuff I made, but he looked miserable the whole time. One evening I come home from work. The apartment smells amazing, like actual joy. And there he is in the kitchen. He'd secretly made himself a cheeseburger. We had a massive fight, and no, it wasn't really about the burger. I was yelling about what it represented, about him going behind my back, about rejecting the values we were supposed to be building together, about refusing to evolve. He hits me with, "Nora, it's just a burger." That was his favorite line, whenever he didn't want to engage. It's just a joke. It's just a movie. It's just a burger. He never got it. Nothing is just anything. Everything means something. Everything reflects power. Everything is political. Whether people admit it or not, the real breaking point came when I learned the term emotional labor. It was like someone turned on a light in a room. I didn't realize I'd been sitting in the dark. Suddenly the exhaustion had a name. Once I had the term, I started seeing it everywhere in our relationship. Me keeping track of our plans, me remembering to text his sister on her birthday, me being the one to bring up every hard conversation before it turned into a problem, me noticing, naming, scheduling, processing him just kind of existing inside the relationship and assuming it would run itself. I got obsessed with documenting it, like if I could make it visible enough, he'd finally understand what I was carrying. So I sat him down one Sunday night at our kitchen table and explained emotional labor to him, like I was teaching a workshop. I had notes, I had examples, I had an actual breakdown by category. Yes, literally charts color-coded. I'm not exaggerating. I told him this wasn't about blame. It was about accountability, that he needed to start doing his share of the invisible maintenance that partnership meant, more than paying half the rent and taking out trash when asked. He looked at the pages, then looked at me, and I watched him go somewhere far away. He didn't get defensive, didn't raise his voice, didn't even try to argue his side. He just got very, very quiet, like a door closed behind his eyes. After a long pause, he said, "I'm trying, Nora." Flat voice, no anger in it, just empty. Then he rubbed his face and said, "I feel like I'm trying really hard, and it's still never enough for you." I told him it wasn't about enough, that this wasn't a performance review. It was about equality, about being an actual equal partner, instead of someone I had to manage. He shook his head slowly, looked exhausted in a way that made me even more irritated, and said, "No. It's about me becoming someone else." Another pause. "It's about me becoming you." That line stuck in my head for years. At the time I heard it as manipulation, like he was trying to make me feel guilty for having standards. We lasted maybe another month after that. And then I ended it. My choice, I told him. I had outgrown the relationship, told him I needed someone who could meet me where I was. Someone who pushed me forward instead of dragging on my ankle. Someone on my level. I really said that, and he didn't fight me on any of it. No speech, no bargaining, no, "Let's fix this." He just nodded, like he'd been expecting it, packed his clothes over 2 days, boxed up his books and tools, and left it hurt like hell. Obviously it hurt. I cried after he drove away. I cried while washing dishes for like a week, but I kept repeating the same story to myself. Necessary loss, strategic, cut. You don't keep dead weight when you're trying to evolve. I was moving up. He was still on level 1. That was the script. I hadn't seen him in 6 years. Not once, no run-ins, no messages, nothing. Then last weekend happened, perfect fall day. Blue sky, cool air, sun out. But not annoying, I decide to go to that giant farmer's market on the west side, the expensive one, the one where people pay $16 for small batch honey and act normal about it, where every tomato looks like it was grown by elves in a forest commune. I love that place. It's all handmade soap, heirloom produce, and people pretending they don't have trust funds. It feels like the kind of environment I'm supposed to thrive in. I'm wearing my favorite wide-leg linen jumpsuit, the one that makes me look effortlessly put together, even though I absolutely thought about it. Canvas tote on my shoulder that says abolish the patriarchy, hair-done sunglasses, whole vibe on point. I'm standing at a bread stall buying an absurdly priced sourdough loaf, like $14 for bread. Whatever. And then I hear someone laugh, deep laugh, easy laugh, familiar enough that my whole body goes cold. Before I even turn around, I look over, and there he is. Nate, and my first thought is, not, wow, he looks okay. It's what the hell, because he looks incredible, not model hot, not polished, just solid, filled out in a good way. Wider shoulders, stronger frame, healthy present. He's not wearing any of the fitted city clothes I used to buy him, and insisted looked elevated. He's in a plain flannel, dark jeans, work boots, the exact kind of outfit I would have mocked back then as aggressively basic. And somehow, he looks better than ever in it, like the clothes belong to him, instead of him trying to belong to the clothes, and he's not by himself. His arm is around a woman, of course, and she is my complete opposite long blonde hair in a loose braid. Light cotton dress with little flowers on it, flat sandals, no visible makeup. Soft face, the human embodiment of every aesthetic and social script. I've spent years critiquing, and then my eyes drop, and I see her stomach very pregnant, not maybe pregnant, not is that a burrito? Pregnant, full, obvious, very pregnant. My stomach just drops out the sourdough in my hand, suddenly feels like a brick. They're both laughing at something. The cheese guy is saying, Nate leans down and kisses the side of her head without even thinking about it. Just this automatic little gesture, casual, familiar, intimate, in a way that made me feel like I was seeing something I wasn't supposed to see. I should have left right then, just turned around and walked to the mushroom stand, pretended none of this happened, but I froze, feet rooted to the ground like an idiot. And then he looks up, eyes moving across the crowd, lands on me. You can see the exact second recognitions, hits his smile, slips for a beat, just one beat. Then he smooths it over into this polite, neutral expression. Not warm, not cold, just controlled, Nora, he says. Not a question, just my name. The woman turns toward me and smiles, like genuinely smiles. No tension, no possessive body language, no suspicion, which somehow made it worse. Hey, Nate, I say, and I can hear the strain in my own voice. Immediately he does the introduction thing with a small gesture. Nora, this is my wife, Emily. This is Nora. We knew each other in college. Knew each other college, not ex, not we dated for years. Not even friend, just a sanitized little museum. Label still stings. Emily reaches out her hand. I shake it, her grip is firm, not floppy. She says, It's really nice to meet you. Nate's mentioned you before. Cool, awesome love. That for me, my brain instantly fills in the blanks. He definitely told her I'm the intense ex who turned everything into a political dissertation. The nightmare girlfriend who tried to regulate his dinner. I force a smile and go, hopefully nothing too incriminating. I was aiming for light and sarcastic came out sharper than I wanted. Nate gives this small, tight smile like he noticed and is choosing not to react. Says, we were just grabbing a few things for dinner. Then glances at Emily. She's been on an apple kick all week. Emily laughs and puts a hand on her belly. This little guy wants pie every day. I think I'm just following orders at this point. They both laugh. It's so domestic it makes my skin itch, so normal, so offensively wholesome, the kind of scene people build furniture commercials around. Then Nate looks back at me and asks it, the standard catch-up question. So what are you doing these days? And there it is. My opening my shot the moment to show him I didn't just move on, I ascended, I straighten up a little, lift my chin, give him my polished professional answer. I'm a senior DEI director at a major software company. Pause for effect. I manage a team focused on equity strategy and inclusive policy design across multiple departments. I add a little more, because why not? A lot of systems level work, culture, hiring pathways, retention frameworks, trying to create real structural change, I wait for the reaction, for the impressed face, for even a tiny flash of regret, something that says he understands what he lost. Nothing. He just nods once and says, "Wow, sounds important. Good for you." That's it. Same tone someone uses when you tell them you switched dentists. Emily jumps in before I can process how much that annoyed me. "That actually sounds really interesting," she says. "I imagine that must feel meaningful, helping people like that." She is being sincere, which I somehow hate more than if she'd been fake. "It can be," I say, and then because I can't help myself, I lay it on thick. It's difficult work trying to undo generations of systemic inequity, but somebody has to do it. I'm basically performing now, trying to make them feel the scale of me, the weight of my life. Then I turn back to Nate, smile a little too sharply. "What about you? Still in engineering?" I ask. I remember how much he used to hate that first job. All meetings, process, office politics, staying late because some VP changed his mind. He shakes his head, and for the first time since spotting me, he gives a real smile, not the polite one, an actual smile. "Nah," he says, "I got out of that a while back. I run my own custom woodworking shop now." He says it with this quiet pride that immediately annoys me. Woodworking, seriously, a woodworker. This was a guy who graduated near the top of his class, had recruiters chasing him, landed some ridiculous starting salary out of college, and he walked away from all of that to build cabinets. My brain is trying to file this under temporary phase, but his face doesn't look temporary. It looks settled. He keeps talking, mostly built-ins, cabinetry, shelves, mudroom stuff, that kind of work. Some custom pieces. It's good, honestly. I work with my hands, make my own schedule. No middle managers. Emily lights up when he says it, like she actually loves hearing him talk about his job. "He's insanely talented," she says. "You should see the crib he made for the baby." Crib. Of course, my brain basically blue screens. This is the same man I once argued with for 2 hours about why boy and girl toy aisles matter. Now he's talking about wood stain and building a crib for his unborn kid. It feels unreal, like I'm watching some alternate universe version of him. And in my head, I immediately translate it into the only framework that lets me stay upright. Regression, devolution, he had potential. And she flattened him into a role, this soft-voiced, floral-dressed domestic goddess thing, next to him, apple pies and sunshine and fertility. She took a smart, thoughtful, politically engaged guy and turned him into a stereotype provider, mode, flannel mode, suburban handyman, fantasy starter pack. I hear myself speak before I can stop it. "Well," I say, and my tone is pure condescension, can't even hide it. "As long as you're happy, I guess." His smile doesn't drop, doesn't twitch. He glances at Emily, then back at me and says, "I am." Simple as that, no speech, no defensive add-on, just certainty then, after a beat, like he wants to make sure I heard him correctly. I really am. Something about how calm he says it goes straight through me. It actually makes me cold because he's not trying to prove anything. He's just stating a fact. The silence after that is brutal, one of those weird stretched out pauses where nobody knows where to put their eyes. And somehow Emily is the one who rescues everyone, still smiling, still nice. "It was really good meeting you, Nora," she says, resting a hand on his arm. "But we should probably grab honey before they sell out again." Again, of course, they have a honey vendor routine. Of course they do. Nate nods. "Yeah, we should." Then looks at me one more time. "Take care." Nora. And that's it. They turn and walk away together. His arm comes around her, his hand settles on her lower back. Like, it's the most natural thing in the world, protective but not performative. They lean toward each other when they walk like two puzzle pieces that actually fit, and I'm just standing there by the bread stall alone, holding my overpriced sourdough like an idiot. My tote bag slides down my shoulder. "Abolish the patriarchy," printed across it in giant letters, suddenly feels so heavy and weird and kind of embarrassing. I honestly don't remember paying for the bread, or getting through the rest of the market, or even making it back to the garage. Next clear, memory is me, sitting in my car engine, off hands on the steering wheel, staring at a concrete wall in the parking structure, like it insulted me. The rage hits first fast and hot, like a white flash. How dare he? How dare he be happy? How dare he throw away all that education, all that talent, on some painfully basic lifestyle catalog existence, and her Emily. With the calm smile, and the perfect manners, and the giant pregnant belly, I immediately decide she's the villain. She has to be. She's a thief. She stole the version of him. He was supposed to become the thoughtful, progressive partner I spent years trying to build with him, and turned him into a man who builds cribs and buys honey. On Saturdays in my head, I keep making him more and more primitive builder. Woodsman next, he'll be chopping logs and raising chickens or whatever. I drive home in a fog. Barely remember the route. Just red lights and turn signals, and my jaw clenched so hard it hurts. Get back to my apartment, unlock the door, walk into the same clean, curated, silent space I've always loved, except it doesn't feel the same. Not elegant, not intentional, just empty, cold. The quiet feels wrong. Now I toss the bread on the counter, harder than I mean. Till it lands with this stupid dense thud. Don't even want it anymore. I need backup, need someone to hand me the version of the story, where I'm still the hero. I call Erin. She picks up on the second ring. I don't even say hi properly. You are not going to believe who I just ran into. And then I unload the whole thing, every detail. Market pregnant, wife, carpentry business. The smile, the way he said he was happy. But I tell it in the version that protects me. Nate becomes the sellout who wasted his mind. Emily becomes the manipulative tradwife type who domesticated him and locked it in with a baby. I cast myself as the successful one, the accomplished one, the person who got blindsided by their smug little heteronormative cosplay. Erin gives me exactly what I'm calling for, right on cue. Oh my God, that's bleak. He completely folded. A man that bright and now he's playing house in the suburbs building shelves? That's actually sad. You're way better off. You're doing real work, Nora. He's basically doing Pinterest projects. Normally that would have worked. Normally I'd feel the relief kick in the reset, the yes, exactly, thank you feeling. But this time, it just doesn't land. Her words sound recycled like lines from a script we've used too many times. I make the right noises, agree where I'm supposed to agree. We hang up, and then the silence in my apartment comes back twice as loud. And for the first time, the story I've been telling myself starts slipping, just a little. A tiny thought shows up that I do not want. What if I'm wrong? I spend the rest of the weekend half functional, can't focus on anything. Start a show, turn it off, open my laptop, close it, walk around the apartment for no reason. My brain keeps replaying his face, not the fact that he looked good, the expression that calm, steady, almost boring happiness. And what messes with me is this. He never looked like that with me, not even when things were good with me. He was expressive, engaged, animated, sometimes excited, sometimes frustrated, sometimes fired up. We were always in some discussion, some debate, some deconstruction. Every dinner became a seminar. Every disagreement became a framework. Our relationship was never just a relationship. It was an ongoing analysis, a group project, a thesis draft with Emily. His face looked quiet, not empty, peaceful content. Like his nervous system had finally unclenched late Sunday night. I do something I know I shouldn't do. I open Facebook, haven't used it in years, except for Marketplace once, but I type his name anyway, not hard to find. Him profile is public. First thing I see is his picture. Him and Emily on some hiking trail with mountains behind them, both grinning like idiots. Banner photo is a built-in bookshelf, wall, beautiful woodwork, clean lines, tons of books, obviously his work. I scroll photos of them on hikes, photos of them fixing up an old house, painted walls, ripped up floors. Before and after shots, pictures of him in a workshop covered in sawdust, smiling at the camera. No essay-length political posts, no constant outrage shares, no performative thread fights in the comments, just a life, a normal life, and worse than that, a happy one. Then I click over to Emily's profile, mostly flowers from her garden, baked stuff, cooling on racks, seasonal decorations. My first reaction is instant and automatic internalized misogyny, starter, pack, trad, aesthetic nonsense. But I keep scrolling and I start seeing the comments. This is gorgeous, Emily. You're so talented. Can you bring this on Sunday? So excited to see you guys. Friends tagging her neighbors, joking with her. People clearly showing up in her life all the time. She has a community. She has people. She's not isolated. She's not some brainwashed Stepford extra. She's loved, And then I find the post that actually wrecks me. Nate posted it maybe a year ago. Picture of Emily asleep on the couch, head in his lap, blanket over her legs. One of those quiet, candid photos you take when you love someone and don't need it to be impressive. Caption says, "I used to think love had to be loud, like a constant debate. A project, something you had to work on every second. A problem to solve. Turns out I was wrong. Love is quiet. It's peace. It's coming home to this. I'm a lucky man." I read it once, then again, then like 8 more times. Every sentence feels like a blade, a project, a problem to solve. He's talking about me, about us, and the part I hate most. He's not wrong. I sit there staring at my screen, and it starts unfolding all at once. I did treat him like a project. My project, my reclamation project. I had this whole unspoken plan, strip out the privileged sand, down the problematic parts, reshape him into the ideal version of a progressive partner. Something I could point to and say, "See, this is what growth looks like." I don't know if I ever seriously asked whether he was happy. I mostly told him what happiness should look like, what ethical partnership should look like, what a good man should sound like. I opened my old cloud storage, dig through folders I haven't touched in forever. Vacations, holidays, random apartment selfies, photos from when we were together. And I start looking at his face, really looking for years. I told myself he looked thoughtful in those pictures, serious, engaged, intellectually present. Now I see something else, tension jaw, always a little tight, eyes slightly strained, that controlled expression people wear when they're trying not to say the wrong thing. The face of someone constantly self-monitoring, walking on eggshells in his own living room, and underneath all of it, fatigue. That same deeper tired I saw near the end, not worked a long shift. Tired more, like soul tired. I close the laptop, just snap it shut, and look around my apartment. The gray and white suddenly feels sterile. The art prints look less sophisticated and more try-hard. The furniture looks neat, but unwelcoming, not a sanctuary, a bunker, a fortress, something built to keep uncertainty out. And the thought, I keep trying not to think, finally lands all the way. What if the worldview I used as armor became a cage? I talked constantly about empowerment, but I steamrolled the person I said I loved. I demanded emotional labor from him, but gave him zero emotional safety. I said I wanted partnership, but only on the condition that he reflected me back to myself. Nate didn't devolve, he got out. He didn't get stolen by a trad wife fantasy. He found an actual partner,